Even though we were not very well to do, we were good enough and we had houses, we had a whole angan and all those things. And then I entered Bombay and I was supposed to share one room with four other kids. In the building, it was in a dilapidated condition. Year itself, I don't remember sleeping. So it just taught me
Really?
hard work, hard work, hard work from the day go.
Is Mr. Tarun Teliani, lovingly known as TT. And you got picked up specifically by him or by his hiring HR department, or how did that happen?
So I'll tell you what my journey was a very humble and a very simple journey. We came from, as I spoke to you earlier, that Gurgaon was not this Gurgaon.
Right, food
So
piece.
probably first of all, I will cut it up in smaller pieces. I will rejoin it. I'll put it on a dummy. I'll proportion it in how much ever ways I can do it. I'll take pictures. I'll take 100 pictures.
And so, if you, like you said, since you don't have a store yet, and hopefully you will, and as you should, but since you don't have it and you're not sure, but do you think that that may be easier than giving it to so many stores and then losing a straight cut of 40%? Hi Aseem, thank you so much for being here. I am so glad that we could get you to come down to our space, and I'm so happy that you took out the time and from your busy schedule to take part in this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward for this conversation.
It should be fun. Aseem, I want to ask you about like your initial journey before we get into the bigger stuff. I want to know that you've been in this industry since, well, your label has started since 2020, but when did you graduate from NIFT?
I graduated in 2003.
2003.
Yeah.
Okay. And while you were at NIFT, was there something that was, like an immediate learning that you felt that you've applied to your life even today?
They were crazy life learnings, but I have to say, like NIFT, because I was also in Mumbai, I had to leave my hometown. So the crazy learning started from the day one when I entered Bombay, and
Is
it was a
it?
cultural shock from a boy from a then village. Gurgaon used to be a village when I left.
Right.
It was something which was just right next to Delhi. It was not the Gurgaon we all
Not
know
the
now.
Gurgaon today, right.
Not at all. And Bombay was a shocker, but it came lovely neat. It embraced me whole solely, and I love Bombay now. So
What shocked you about Bombay? Sorry to interrupt you. What shocked you so
the
much?
shock was when I entered. Uh, how we are from Delhi, we are from Gurgaon,
Yes.
and we used to have a paternal homes. Even though we were not very well to do, we were good enough, and we had houses. We had a whole angan and all those things. And then I entered Bombay, and I was supposed to share one room with four other kids, and this was not through NIFT. It was through some friends, and I started, and I was just walking up the stairs in the building. It was in a dilapidated condition, and I reached and I like, this is where you have to live. So I was shocked that okay, I probably can't live. And one of my relatives had come to drop me, and he literally had tears in his eyes, like, is this where you're gonna be living? I said, yes, it's perfectly all right. So it was more around me that people were more this thing, but I was I was shocked, but I loved it. I loved
loved it.
every single bit of it. And what all things were happening, the kind of interactions we had, staying in, not with your family.
Yeah.
That taught me a lot. And then obviously NIFT, the scheduling and the kind of work we had in the first year itself, I don't remember sleeping. So it just taught me
Really?
hard work, hard work, hard work from the day go, from the first day itself. And now the course is for 4 years. Earlier it used to be 3 years. So what everyone is learning in 4 years, it used to be in 3 years earlier.
So it was
at
more
that time.
jammed up.
It was crazily jammed.
Wow. And then, so right off NIFT, you got picked up by who we know as one of the OGs of the fashion industry today, is Mr. Tarun Teliani, lovingly known as TT. And you got picked up specifically by him or by his hiring HR department, or how did that happen?
So it's a funny story. It actually, I was not directly picked up. I got a job in Hyderabad, and I had won some awards during NIFT.
Okay.
And we had gone there for something called where all the centers, all the awardees would come there, and they will have one final fashion show. So I had gone for that. So through my placements, I got a job in Hyderabad, and I reached there, and I realized that company is never going to open. who I was hired for. So I was like, I have no job. So I came back to my hometown, and coming back to Delhi was not even an option. Either I had to go back to Bombay or Hyderabad. I had to come back after I had no job, and then I came to Delhi, and one of the ex-assistants of Tarun was my mentor in NIFT. He was also teaching in NIFT.
Oh,
So
okay.
he was like, Tarun is actively looking for somebody for menswear. I said that I'm more than happy to sit for the interview. So I went, met him, and worse was, it was during fashion weeks. It was just before fashion week. This is when Lakme had just started. Lakme started in
With
2000.
FDCI, okay.
FDCI and
Right.
FDCI and Lakme together, and this was in Delhi. So there was crazy pressure on the studio. I could feel when I had gone for an interview, and I went back, and then I didn't hear from Tarun and from his team for a month. And I thought I probably I never got this opportunity, and I was just chilling at home, just waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
And one fine day when I was just in at home, and I just got a call that you've got a job. So I was more than happy and pleased that
Yeah.
I got the job with one of the best in the industry.
Yes, absolutely. So, and then you went on to doing that for 15 years.
Yes.
That's obviously saying a lot about not only, Tarun Telyani's brand and his company, but also for you to, be with, I guess, one fashion house, the Atelier, for so long. There has to be a lot of learnings and stories that can come out of that Atelier. So give us a little bit of that.
So I'll tell you, working over there was one of my best experiences
Yeah.
of my life, because TT as a guy is fabulous. The way he envisioned and the way he built up his company, that was very interesting and a lot to learn. And I personally always go after the learning curve. I started there as a menswear designer, junior menswear designer. I graduated becoming the head of the team over there. Then after 2 years, I wanted more. I always wanted more. So I kept growing. I kept growing. That was one instinct of mine, which kind of helped me everywhere in life, that I wanted more out of what I already have.
you already have.
And that kept pushing me to take on more departments. That kept pushing me to take on more work. And through that, I had crazy amount of travel. I and TTV used to travel together a lot for museum visits, for the trunk shows, fashion shows, for all these things. A lot of these things we had done together.
Right.
And while those travels, we had some crazy and amazing time.
Yeah.
Very wild. I can't speak about so much over here.
Oh my
but
God,
yes.
please speak about so much here. This is exactly where you can speak about so much here.
No, but there were some really crazy stories, and there
Yeah.
were some really crazy people we met
Yeah.
during our travels, and that kind of kept the whole kid in TT and
Yeah.
me alive throughout these
Yeah.
15 years, and there was always something new to look forward to in that whole journey. And obviously the work and all kept coming,
Right.
and it was always the priority, but while doing that, we had amazing fun.
But I need at least one story out of you. We won't be able to move further. So one small story, or even and also like some pearls of wisdom that you may have got from him that stick with you till today.
So one thing which was common between me and T was the moment we land, after even if it's a 16-hour flight, we would land, we'll keep our bags, and we will just leave. Even if it's a personal trip, because we have done one or two personal trips also where we have specifically traveled for, like for example, we traveled for Alexander McQueen's last exhibition at the Met, and it
Okay.
was the most beautiful exhibition.
It was stunning.
You must have
Yes,
been,
I
yeah,
did
in
see
your
it.
New York days.
I was there then.
So yes, so we had gone for the opening, and we just went. We kept our bags. We just left, and that's how we traveled everywhere. We would not, and for us, the daytime was to go out, learn,
Right.
meet. It's just learning didn't stop, and also getting inspired. All the day we wanted to do was visit museum, visit markets, meet people who can teach us. And that's how, by the end of the night, we would just crash on. Probably we might have one crazy night
Right.
in that trip. So that's how it was. It was just fun and work together. It was not, okay, now I want to rest or I've had enough. We didn't know where the work stopped, where the fun started
started.
because it was just continuous.
That's
And
so
we were
great.
always out there.
Yeah.
We never rested.
Yeah, no, I think that's so nice where you say that we don't know where the work stopped and the fun began. I think that's very crucial and sort
Yeah.
of common to all the people who are absolutely very good at what they do. Is also for that reason, right? Because it's so fun. So moving on from Tarun Tehlani, after you got done with that and you started your label in the midst of COVID, right? Like
Yes.
2020 is when your label arrived. I want to know that when you, what was your thought process? Because see, I mean, I could be wrong and you can correct me, but like 15 years of having such a big influential mentor in your life, and then to branch out and start your own label, you've got to have hints of that somewhere, right? But to be able to create something very different, very impactful, and staying true to your own roots, how did you stick to that ground?
I'll tell you a funny story. What had happened is I had this exact same fear. And fortunately, I had seen with a lot of designers who branch out of a very big designer, commercially very successful, they land up doing the same thing.
Correct.
It's a very natural progression for
Right.
us as humans
Right.
because we will gravitate towards something which is just easy, the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah.
That was my biggest fear. And I was, during my days, it's not that when I left TT, this was the only thing I wanted to do. I left TT with a clear intention that I don't want to start my brand right now. So
Okay.
I did take almost 1.5, 2 years of break wherein I consulted brands.
Okay.
I was consulting Tata for a launch of their brand. I was consulting many other brands, and that's how I kept myself busy. And I kind of did the whole 1.5, 2 years of unlearning,
Of weaning off and unlearning from
complete weaning off. I
Right.
wanted to forget my days over there because I would wake up and I would have the same pattern and
Right.
something similar. And the way, for that matter, people who work with me, I expect them to see fabrics or silhouettes the way I see it. That's when it is a collaborative process.
Right.
And obviously, bring in something of their own. I
Yeah.
wanted to precisely unlearn that. I didn't want to see the world the way my previous boss or Tarun, who's my mentor,
Yeah.
sees it.
Right.
So that was precisely the reason I started consulting and I took that pause. And that pause is what kind of changed the whole thing. And the funny thing is, I graduated with a menswear collection called Wandering Tribes Gathers No Dust. That was
Oh.
my collection in
At NIFT.
2003 in NIFT.
Oh, okay.
I took that pause and I realized what my true calling was. And I went back to it straight. And I obviously, all these years, I had a crazy amount of learning and
Yes.
immersive experiences. So I just put all of that, but more experimental, more than inspiration. So I took the whole emotion of it, I took the whole learning of it, but I went back to who I was.
Okay.
And that was the most important thing for me.
Okay, that's interesting. And then,
And then COVID, yeah, you
Yeah.
mentioned COVID, and thanks, I got married while I was working TT.
Yeah.
And when I took that pause, and that was the only thing I was like, I need to start, I need to have my own voice, I need to. So Pooja, my lovely wife, so she kind of pushed me, like, if you don't do it now, you'll never do it because the world has come to a pause now. It's your time to just kind of put together everything, and you obviously were insecure. There were fears, nobody knew
Yeah,
what it's
of
gonna be,
course.
and we kind of just went ahead. She's a co-founder with me, and she helped me start the whole brand. And that whole journey was very difficult. It was full of fears when I
Yes.
started, and I was not too sure if it's gonna work. I immediately phoned Tina. Onsom, she owns Onsom, and I
Yes.
was like, we have like very personal and very family-like relationship. So I requested her that I am coming up with a range.
yeah.
I don't know if it is going to work or not because, and is this the right time to do it or not? But I just want you to have a look at this and just give me a feedback.
Right.
So we made a very nice presentation to Tina and her team, and they loved it, and I was on board. So
Wow.
we launched a collection, and the first season started with the Onsom. Onsom Kalagoda launched us.
That was Sletty. The
Sletty,
collection was
yeah.
Sletty.
Sletty.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
That's so great, and I think that was that even like basically set your tone
Yeah.
for the brand, right?
Yeah.
Because you haven't deviated from that. Like you'll see, I guess some, inspiration of that, your first
Yeah.
collection in your work,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
till up until your
absolutely.
latest one,
Yeah.
right? So tell me, like, when you think of, fashion as a memory, like, when you don't know what you're even doing, even before NIFT, was it like, was it a memory for you? Was it a person for you, a muse, something that kind of moved you to be like, I think I'm meant to be in the zone of designing?
So I'll tell you what my journey was a very humble and a very simple journey. We came from, as I spoke to you earlier, that Gurgaon was not this Gurgaon.
Right.
So the exposure level was almost nil when we were growing up in that city, because it was also due to our grandparents came to Gurgaon as from Pakistan after
Oh,
partition.
really?
Yeah, so that was the
Oh,
whole journey, and they were amongst the first few families in Gurgaon when it used to be a old Gurgaon.
okay.
And my dad opened up he was a tailor.
Okay.
So my dad ran this little shop in Gurgaon, and that's where all the inspiration came from. And I used to be a vivid sketcher. I
Okay.
would all day, and I was always a quiet and person who wanted to spend time on my own. So I would
Yeah.
just keep sketching. That was my only vent
Okay.
towards the world. I was not talking to people much. I was not expressing myself, and that kind of became my form of expression, because I would just sketch, paint, and that was my life. Um, Thankfully, from our school, we had some of our seniors who went through NID or NIFT. And that's when I saw that, okay, this could be a career that somebody who expresses in
Right.
terms of visual media. I would just say
Right.
it's very simply,
Yes.
we all express in visual media. And
Right.
I was expressing myself visually, but I was still then expressing only in a 2D or a 3D format, but only in art form. So that kind of also became an extension of, if you see my work, every canvas, or I look at things like a canvas, if how we mix prints and how we
Yes.
mix embroideries with the prints, one thing ends and the other thing starts, and you will not know. And that's how my mind also works. And that's how, because it always worked in the 2D and the visual media.
Yeah.
So I would sketch, and that's when I realized that, okay, this is an alternative career to express yourself, and you can reach out to more people like this.
Right.
So I applied for NIFT, and I applied for, if I wouldn't have been a designer, I would have certainly been an artist.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I
that
mean,
was the
we know
alternative
that
career.
that is like that was a very obvious sort of
Yeah.
thing for you, because I mean, sketching all day long and painting with it and all is just like, definitely all the elements of the makes of an artist. What I want to know is that not only just your time with Tarun at the atelier, but even on your own, what are some of the embroideries that, as a brand, you have completely adopted and felt like, this is your brand language?
So we do a lot of marodi work. Marodi
Okay.
work is dory work. We do a lot of trompe of prints and embroidering on top, because that kind of gives me a freedom to um, express anything. Because what lands up happening, and you think and you create a print, and then you print it out there, and you do the whole kashida, and you do a whole highlighting, you do a lot of ari embroidery. So there is a lot of marodi work that we kind of incorporate in our work, and I make sure that we have dori and marodi work
Yeah.
in all our collections. We do infuse different materials, and now what I am going to be doing and what I want to do is a whole lot of kamdani work, because I love metal, and metal always attracts me. And kamdani is one technique, and it is a craft base and a technique which has existed, and I feel that not many people have successfully been able to interpret Kamdani in a more modern and a cool way. Kamdani has always existed. It's
Right.
beautiful as a technique.
Right.
People have done beautiful chicken curry and Kamdani together. But I'm just looking at Kamdani as a technique, and I feel that it has a lot of potential.
Tell me, Kamdani and Mukesh are the same?
Yeah, Kamdani and Mukesh
And
are
like
same.
Kamdani is just a bigger
Yeah.
size, I feel.
Yeah,
Right?
Kamdani is when you use a metal thread and you kind of embroider bigger motifs. And Mukesh, by virtue of it, by the sound of it, you just think of dots.
Dots.
Yeah.
Correct.
But it's the same material.
So Kamdani is, I think, a very good fit for your,
Yeah.
your sensibility, because it's
Yeah.
something that can really bring out the print and your silhouettes, etc. So this raw, nomadic sort of, Banjara look, was this always part of your ethos before you started the brand, or was this something that grew with you and then you arrived there?
So the brand's tagline is think global, act tribal.
Yes.
That is the baseline, and that's how I perceive design.
Okay.
Where the perception and is at a global level, perception of how we design and who we cater to, and thinking global, thinking tribal, and acting tribal comes from a very community-driven feeling, wherein we get inspired directly and indirectly from tribes from all over the world.
Yeah.
And what I love about how and why we get inspired from them is the carefree attitude they have towards design. They are not designing. They are not
Right.
doing fashion. They have no fashion parades.
It's
They are
utility for them.
It's just for themselves, and it always speaks something.
Yeah.
When they put one gold motif, or when they put one extra bead or a green color,
Yeah.
it means something.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is not done because they want to sell a certain number. They want to produce. It just comes so naturally to them.
Right.
And that's the feeling what excites me.
Yeah.
That is what nomadic is, not just an aesthetic, it's also the way of thinking of how you interpret and interact with materials.
Right.
So whenever I feel stuck, that I just close my eyes and I think of how these materials would be used carefree and without any formula.
Right.
So that's what it keeps going back to, how they would think, and how in my civilized and my educated world, how I have to unlearn something, and I just have to be free flowing and how I interact with these materials.
Right. It's almost like drawing the inspiration, unlearning the worldly attachments to it, and then yet
Yeah.
bringing it back to the world for
Yeah.
it to do well, because eventually it kind of comes down to then the business of it, right? Because then you have to
Absolutely.
be able to sell it.
Absolutely.
And for your clothes to sell, I don't see a struggle, because I feel like your pieces are so easy to wear and are high impact just by looking at them, right? Because when you touch and feel a product by Aseem Kapoor, it is very like it's a jacket just thrown on, but so nicely embellished that you look like maybe she's wearing 2, 3 things. Like, maybe something else has been added to it, right? And maybe the jewelry has been already attached to it, but then you look at it and you
True.
see that it's all embroidered. When you start with your inspiration, of course, your inspiration, like you said, is all the tribes and all the people who think like that. But then what happens with your design process in terms of, to me, for example, the biggest challenge in my eyes, of course, this comes easy to you, is how to mix the prints and the embroideries. Can you give us, like, maybe in layman terms of how you do that with so much ease?
So I'll tell you, I believe design is only about proportions.
Okay.
Everything we do, everything we perceive, it's only proportions.
Okay.
If you understand, so you and I are not the only people who have access to all the beautiful colors of this
course.
world. We are not the only people who have access to the best material, embroidery material, or inspirations.
Right.
So everything boils down to your eye, which obviously can be trained with experience.
Right.
It can be trained. Some people are born with it.
Yeah.
Some people have to train it. And training can happen at different levels by educating yourself through looking at the best of the work in the world. You don't have to copy it. You just
Yeah.
have to get inspired and understand how they must have done it,
Right.
and try and replicate the process. So for me, the process of training myself and understanding the proportions is all what it takes in design. When you
Okay.
put two things together, even if you look at Taj Mahal, even if you look at anything else, how much white goes in, how much red goes in, all these questions somebody must have asked. Somebody must have put together these questions, and I think it's only and only about training your eye and getting to the right proportion and having fun while doing that.
Yeah.
It has to be very original. I just feel that saying no to a design is as important as saying yes. So if you say 90% no and 10% yes, you will find your own voice.
Okay.
It just makes your life easy. You just have to say whatever you like. Just keep saying yes, 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 and keep saying whatever you don't like, no, 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 and there you have your own
And you
aesthetic.
have like an obvious thing that emerges, like your
it becomes truly yours.
But tell me, like, I'm trying to get to a little bit more on the technical level here in terms of, like, for example, let's say there's a paisley print,
Yeah.
right? Like a
Yeah.
big, sort of a bigger proportion of the print, like a bigger size. And then when I give that to you, how will Aseem Kapoor make that his own? What will you do to all that paisley print to make it like an Aseem Kapoor piece?
So probably first of all, I will cut it up in smaller pieces. I will rejoin it. I'll put it on a dummy. I'll proportion it in how much ever ways I can do it. I'll take pictures. I'll take 100 pictures
Okay.
of that. Then I'll put them all in the computer on an iPad. I'll resketch it. I'll resketch it. I'll resketch it till the time I don't find a unique proportion.
Got
Till
it.
the time I don't find something that I have not seen.
Got it.
And that is what is going to be very interesting. So it is a laborious work.
But that is very interesting to hear, because I feel like we never get an insight in your head, right? We never can. But this is kind of cool to sort of get that, and we would want more of those.
Absolutely.
Obviously, because I feel that it's very interesting. Like, even when I see other designers' work, embroideries and all, of course, they're beautiful artwork almost. But, like print mixing is a very interesting concept to me, because I feel like sometimes you think like of stripes and checks and you're like, no, you can't do stripes and checks. And then you look at some of the designers' work out there, including maybe even a Perot, a Dhruv Kapoor, or any of these guys who are mixing prints and mixing work with it, and things that you never thought would go together, right? So I wanted to get an idea, and you do that really well too. And you do it in a very like a bohemian Banjara aesthetic, which is very, I think, very unique to your name. So that's what I wanted to know, like, how do you decide on, I feel like deciding embroidery is still maybe not that challenging, because you kind of only know, but the print and the proportion of it, I think, is the toughest part.
Also what I have the most fun in is try and take two materials which just don't go.
Which just don't go.
Which just don't go. Like, especially in prints, a lot has already been done in this world. And you would agree, you have studied fashion, you have studied, you have traveled the world, you must be knowing that a lot has already been done. What has not been done is something which is very unique to me. If I just close my eyes and what is unique to me, and I try and find very unusual elements which just don't go. And my job becomes to make it work.
Right.
And how you proportion it. And then, as I said, it's a lot of work when you put a check and a stripe and you want it to go. And especially they are probably different colors. You just keep placing it in a way, and your eye will tell you immediately that, okay, this is the right proportion. It is a new proportion.
Right.
And it is something that I have been trained in. It is something that is probably a little awkward for a lot of people. Okay, this probably
for their eye to
for the eye.
adjust. Yes.
But you have to train your eye. You have to train the eye. That is your responsibility, I feel. That how a Pero or a Dhruv or we will mix prints, it is our responsibility to give the world something new. And that can only happen when you look at unusual elements, which a lot of people will just ignore.
Yes.
Okay, this won't go. So your responsibility is putting it together, proportioning it, changing colors. There's so much that happens on each and everything, I can tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it is, when you look at the product, so many times people are like, it's fine. It's like almost like a movie, right? It's a film. When you look at a film, sometimes you're like, I don't know, I'll give it like 5 on 10. Easy to rate, but then when you come to make it, it's just insane, like the amount of work that goes in. So once you have that, tell me a little bit about running the sales part of it. Do you also look into the business part of your label, or is that done by your wife or?
No. So the business part is pretty much done by me.
Okay.
Pooja and I work together on design whenever we are creating something new, especially silhouette. That's her strengths.
Okay.
My strength comes from the business and operations part of it. Business, I'll now credit my training at TT on what I've learned, that taking it as a business, don't just do it as a hobby, don't just do it as art. I have always been a firm believer that design, fashion design for that matter, and art are not same. It could be inspired by art, but art is very, very individual. It is what works for me, and then it has to or might not work for the world. But fashion and design has to be adorned by you,
right?
Not by me.
Right.
So if you don't agree to my vision, and collectively a lot of people don't agree to my vision, I'm not going to be able to fund my next collection.
You won't be able to scale it.
Yeah, you
also.
have to be able to scale it, and that scaling comes from understanding your product very well, your understanding that your product needs to be original, then the whole commercial aspect of comfort, fit, marketing. You can't shy away from any of these things. You
Right.
can't just decide that, okay, I want to do a beautiful proportion or beautiful artwork and we are done with the design. There's so much more to design.
Yeah.
Once the garment is done, there is product photo shoots, there's
Right.
styling, there's marketing around it, there's markdowns, there's negotiations, there is raw material coming in, there's finished goods, there's multiple departments that you have to wear different hats every single day and kind of take care of it. Thankfully, now we have a team, but then still still need to supervise on the daily activity
Yeah.
and interact with the new stores and how you're going to be positioning.
Yeah.
What is your brand positioning? How you being placed in each rack? What are the launch dates? There's so many aspects of running a business, and sales is one of the most important aspects. Payments coming in on time, not coming in. Who are the defaulters? There's just
It
crazy
goes on and
day.
on.
It goes on and on.
Right.
Yes.
And which is the worst hat that you don't like wearing ever?
Accounts.
Accounts. Oh, all the creative people hate the math bit. I feel like a lot of people hate the math
I
bit.
have no problem with the maths when I'm doing the calculations
Yeah.
and I am doing the
Costing.
pricing, costings. That I don't have too much problem with. It is the accountancy of raising the bills and following up payments, tally. There's hazar things that
The real
the
accounting,
real
the
accounting
actual
is something
accounting
that
that-
is
yeah.
very painful. And then whenever I'm sitting with my accounts, like I just start yawning. And like this is something that I wish somebody else can complete
Yeah.
do for me. But
I
yes,
want to
still,
talk to you about costing. How is it that today, so many things, so many good clothes also are available at a very competitive price, right? Of course, when we look closer with a magnifying glass, you'll see maybe the quality is a little, maybe something. But I want to get to costing. Usually, what kind of a markup what kind of markup do designers usually work at?
so it also markup is completely dependent on sales channels
Okay.
because you're currently working with stores which anyway are going to be taking almost 40 and effectively 50% of the
Really?
total MRPs. If you're working with a store, as I said, it
Yeah.
completely depends on your sales channel. If
Right.
you are managing a business which can be completely be independent on any other sales channel, your pricing model will completely change because then you have more markup to play around with.
Right.
But if you're working with stores, then you need to factor in that almost a certain percentage is going to go to the stores, and this is not even the marketing cost. This is your sales,
Yes.
pure sales cost.
This is just by
Yeah.
just putting it in the
Yeah,
store
putting
is
in
the cost.
store, and
Right.
that's and initially I feel that everyone should and everyone will sell through the amazing MBOs that we have in our country, but uh, financially, I think running your own stores, maybe at some point, I don't
Maybe
have a store
better.
yet, so it's easy for me to say it.
Yeah.
Probably somebody who already has their own store, they would be able to correct me that how much um, of pain it is to run your own stores, and the markups can be defined as per your sales channel, like as in websites have their own
Yes.
way of selling. So you can't just define a product that if I'm making an X and I'll sell it for 4X or 3X or 2X, it completely depends what is the your market. Internationally, they market up by 2.7, 2.8%
Right.
of your cost. So
Right.
that completely throws you off your
Yeah.
own markdown. So you
Yeah.
have to reduce your markdowns drastically. So it all depends on what your sales channel is, what is the quantum of your sale, and what is your operational costs.
And so, if you, like you said, since you don't have a store yet, and hopefully you will,
Yes.
and as you should, but since you don't have it and you're not sure, but do you think that that may be easier than giving it to so many stores and then losing a straight cut of 40%? Like, does that make sense to you, or do you feel like,
No, I'll tell you, it also depends which stage are you at in your career, in
Okay.
your path of your designing journey that initially and even for later, a lot of very well established designers are doing fabulous business with MBOs. And it all depends how the numbers change, how the exclusivity clause change. And at one point, everyone has to start their own stores because you also want to give that kind of an experience
Right. To have your
that
own kind of.
to your own, like,
Yeah.
as in you gather. The whole point of doing this is gathering
Is
your
correct.
tribe.
Absolutely.
Once you have gathered your tribe and who want to get that experience of an Aseem Kapoor store,
Yes.
or how it will be done up, how the service will be, how the variety that we are able to offer in your
Yeah.
own store versus something else, it completely depends on all of that. And I would love to at some point have my own store.
Give that experience.
Yeah, but then I will say that it is not this or that. It could be a combination of both.
Of course, people do it all the time.
Yeah. Even I would like to do a combination of both because the kind of branding and marketing that the stores can give you to be available in the top leading stores of the country,
Right.
it really changes how your brand is perceived.
Right. And it's also tougher, I feel, like you said, the kind of visibility you get from stores to get that visibility on your own sometimes may be
Yeah.
tougher. But I think like for people who are more established and who've proven themselves to be, good brands that I think stores are proud to keep,
Yeah.
then it's probably easier because then, sometimes people feel like, oh, they don't have the whole collection. I should probably go to his store, right? Because there is exclusivity, right?
Yeah.
From what I understand, that for example, a store like Ogan will get their pick, and then Ensemble may not want to duplicate that, right? Like,
Again, it works designer to designer. A designer who's gotten well established and who has a command of their own.
Yeah.
In terms that people are coming and asking for a certain brand,
Right.
like if they do you have a Aseem Kapoor, then that kind of becomes easy. Because eventually all these stores over the years have gathered so much of momentum and their own clientele
Yes.
that they are very confident with the same product selling across road, and India is booming. India is shining. The
Yeah.
pure number of customers who are emerging and coming from the smaller cities every single
Yeah.
day. These stores sometimes have a handful. They still can't cater to all of
they
them.
don't have the demand
So
is getting higher.
exclusivity happens for certain collections, certain capsule collections, but in general, I think the top stores are all getting similar things.
Yeah.
But their value comes in with their services,
With their own-
clientele,
right.
and which they handle beautifully. All the stores.
But how does it work in terms of like, let's say a big store name comes in and says that we want these, and you can't sell it to anybody else. Does that happen with you?
Initially, it used to happen, but we managed it quite well because my argument with all of them are we are a ready-to-wear brand. Our price points are between like 8,000 at that time,
Yeah.
8,000 to 20,000 at MRPs. We can't afford to give exclusivity unless you're buying out like a 10 piece or 20 piece or whatever number that can be established.
Unless it's an outright buy.
Unless outright buy, and that too a big number. You can't
Right.
survive on a 20 piece for
Fair.
a season.
Fair.
So that's never going to happen. So stores do get, as I said, capsule collections is where they do get exclusivity, and that's when the designer works with them on generating numbers, generating sales,
Yeah.
and doing the PR and the marketing. But otherwise, I think it's nicely balanced out.
Yeah. Okay. I think like it's always interesting to see that, sometimes because as customers, a lot of customers are not really loyal to the store they buy it from. They are loyal to their need and their want. Right? It's a very obvious fact.
Yeah.
If I want a certain outfit, I don't get it here, I'll get it there. I won't get it there, I'll get it there. But the point is that as a business, as a creator, like if I feel like, oh my God, I've given my collection to this store and now they've asked me, I can't give it to anybody else. You feel a little stuck and you feel a little, and then when you're a newbie, like, if you're completely new, someone who's struggling and who's come up, then they're really in a fix, right? Because they want to be in that big store also.
And also, they get
But they also
are
don't want
not
to
allowed.
hold back. They're kind of being held back, right?
Yeah, it happens.
It happens, but I think-
with a lot of younger brands, and it's unfortunate, but it is true.
Yeah, but I think it's because of that holding back that they understand that maybe they're wanted.
Yeah.
And then you can't hold them back forever. You can never do that.
You
so I
can't
guess-
hold them back for and a true talent and a well-run business is gonna
Yeah.
continue.
It's gonna continue.
It's not gonna be dependent completely on one particular store. It is always gonna have its own ways,
Yeah.
its own channels. Like we have now branched out doing uniforms. We do uniforms for lovely hotels and
Oh,
lovely
really?
things. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Like what hotels?
So we just finished designing an amazing set of uniforms for the Park Hotel in Patiala. They opened a heritage property.
Okay.
So we are doing different things for different, but obviously people come to us because they like our aesthetic.
Yes.
And then they want a part of it. And so there are different things with different projects that keep coming in. As you grow and as your aesthetics become stronger,
Yeah.
you kind of start getting these kind of interesting collaborations.
Right.
So yes.
I
So-
think collaborations, I mean, I have said this on my podcast so many times because I really absolutely enjoy witnessing
Yeah.
collaborations. I wouldn't say always purchasing and always participating, but witnessing, because I feel like, you know, there's two brands that are either too far apart or too similar, but then when they come together and something comes off that, you just feel like that is such a cool way to kind of extend your invitation to a whole new demographic that maybe never saw you, you know, or saw you but wanted you in this price point, or saw you but then, you know, didn't have. So I think collaborations are, if done correctly, I think can be really beautiful.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So
The
have
right
you done
collaboration.
that with anybody else?
So we are looking and we are open to collaborations, but till now, whatever collaborations have come our way, either because of uh, being very tight on time or something, I have not been able to do it, but I'll be more open to it from now.
Yeah, because now you have a bigger team
Yeah.
when you're getting bigger. That's amazing. Aseem, tell me, when you design something, when you're in your stage of you're done with your inspiration, and do you design with a muse in mind, a memory in mind? Like, we know that your inspirations greatly lie with the tribals, but even then, so to start a new chapter in your design, you know, in your designing sort of stage, what do you look to?
No, actually, I designed with a clear memory. It's not just per se a muse, but it is a memory of how I'm feeling and how intellectually stimulated I am. And it just comes back to the memory, and it's not particularly towards any muse. I want
Okay.
to design for everyone, not just one particular person.
Okay, okay. And do you have specific sources that you go towards? Like, you know, like I refer to WWD, right, for my fashion news, right? Do you refer to such sources? Do you have any sources that you feel like, you know, these are my three sources that I feel like I need my fix from?
I love going to Business of Fashion to
Okay.
understand and read some new articles.
Yeah.
I go to Vogue.com to look at the newest of shows because they have amazing exclusive coverage of the entire thing. So these are the two things where I kind of get my fashion gossip, you can say, or
Okay.
the knowledge.
Okay, great. Has there been a moment in your entire career where you were told that no, this is not really going to work, but you kind of made it work and proved them wrong?
It's happened several times, not just once.
lovely.
It's happened in school, it's happened in my work. And in the school, the perception was, though, no, you'll not make it as a designer. As a designer in my job, there was a perception that you can't run your own business. So I kind of kept doing it. And I think we all just do it with conviction and hard work.
So you're
And that's what
breaking
I
the
did.
barriers
Breaking
from
the
every
barriers,
stage.
yeah.
Okay, that's great. What kind of advice would you give to like emerging talent that will help them innovate but not losing their roots?
I feel technology is at their fingertips now, and that is better than ever before. Exposure is at their fingertips. What is not there is looking inwards for inspiration, because inspiration is out there, but how you perceive it is only yours. And that individualistic approach has to come from within. So you just need to look inside, because everything else possible is better than ever before in terms
Right.
of techniques, in terms of exposure, in terms of if you think of something, you can go and travel there. all these things are available to us, resources. Now we have corporates coming into design. So there's money, there's everything. Now what needs to be left alone or left within you is you just need to look inside.
Well, I think that's a very valid point, because I feel like it's very difficult today to I wouldn't say it's difficult to look inwards. I think it would be difficult to look inwards and find clarity,
Yeah.
because you've seen it more than I would ever even imagine, is that people trying to emulate or to copy, or business formats that are doing very well simply by a cut copy paste situation. Or if not that, let's take it one step further, where they are getting inspired by it, and they're brands made out of pure inspirational copies. And I see them existing, I see them in exhibitions, I see them out in the market. Many of them have their own stores now. So how do you feel about people who tend to quote unquote get inspired by Aseem Kapoor label and then make their own stuff?
See, you will be shocked. I would want to say no, it doesn't bother, no, it doesn't exist. But I hate to say it all exists, and businesses are thriving. All I can say, it's an unfair world, and we or the cluster of designers who are creating original product has become the R&D ground for the world. People are coming and literally taking everything away from us, and they probably have better resources than us. So yeah, as I said, I would love to say no, but it's unfortunate truth. They are thriving. Sooner or later, they will have other resources also.
So in a world that is currently obsessed with minimalism, I am definitely taking notice that maximalism is making a comeback, and that is totally your zone, right? So how excited are you for the upcoming sort of year ahead, and what do you have in mind?